Can you ever have too much work going on in the studio? Furthermore, what happens when you're working on a lot of art? Arguably too many pieces at the same time. I'm Beverly Claridge. Welcome to my studio. Today I share my story and the rather astonishing results from all that activity. Pinky Derivative, which was inspired by my In the Pink collection, marked my return to oil painting, albeit on small panels rather than canvas sheets. I began blocking in shapes on the next two stretch canvas oil paintings. These were inspired by Hoo Ha and Ruckus from my earlier Hurly-Burly series and were given the working titles RD1 and RD2. Furthermore, I began design layout on my two mountain canvases 2 days afterwards. Soon I was brushing undercoat layers on both RD and the mountain works. Palette knife scrapes soon manifested into a checkerboard motif on the Pinky Derivative works. A similar checkerboard motif debuted on some of my smaller Hurly-Burly pieces. Then a stylized checkerboard emerged on both RD canvases. Starting small, the pattern spread widely over both works within a couple of days. I used it as a device to add direction and movement. Nonetheless, a day or so later, I began the Blue Playground derivative group. The Pinky panels developed a strong stripe and weave motif within 2 weeks, while a checkerboard theme emerged over both of the RD works. Thereupon, some parts of the pattern morphed into directional stripes on RD1. Moreover, the theme spread to the mountain works as well. Next, I embarked on Red Playground XL, RPXL. The working title is the same size as the mountain works. It served as a reinterpretation of Can Red Come Out to Play, set number 2. The grid work evolved into a weaving motif along the top of RD2. A few days later, that soon spread over the majority of the work. By the end of May, curved colored stripes, adding direction and movement, overtook RD1 and the mountain works. There was no going back. I did not like those snippety mountains right in the middle of RD1. However, they still tried to peek through, much to my chagrin. I filled the sky with alternating colored bands along with punchy bright stripes. Thick and thin color bands soon found their way onto RD2 by the middle of June. Both mountain works were fully engulfed in stripes too. Blue Playground was front and center up on my art table once again, so I gave the pieces their own set of interpretive stripes. On Pinky, the checkboard, weaving, and stripes were intensified. Still, I started another collection, Ball and Ribbon. I looked forward to playing with stripes from the get-go on the 4 hollow board panels. Early July, purple bands debuted on RD2. The red zigzag creations at the bottom left of RD2 became more dimensional. Days later, I added mint green crosshatching over the 4 mountain shape of RD1. Slightly lightened sap green stripes curved along the bottom. Returning to BP the following week, I added more red stripes. I used the same red on a figure on RD1. I added the red to the middle and neighboring shapes. Now, sky blue mesh lines, woven golden ribbons along with red and orange ribbons festoon the dominant shapes within RD1. I enjoyed the direction in which the piece was going. However, it still lacked something. Therefore, I wove an orange ribbon through the sky blue grid on the far left figure in RD1. Then I added more red and orange lines to the far right shape. In RD2, I intensified the orange in the bottom right quadrant and sprinkled the vibrant color throughout the composition to add spark and direction. By now, I had developed the RD works as much as possible. I needed a brain break. So now I changed my focus to RPXL, Ball and Ribbon, Pinky, Blue Playground, and the mountain works. I clearly noted the influence that these works had on each other. However, none surprised me more than what had developed on RPXL. Early September, I re-engaged with RD by deepening the ribbon colors on RD2. RPXL was fully engaged with stripes and weaves and was mostly painted. Towards the end of September, I once again returned to ball and ribbon. Then I stacked RPXL and the mounting canvases on top of my studio shelves on the 1st of October, and then leaned my RD works against the opposite studio shelves. And I continued working on ball and ribbon until I closed the studio on the 1st of November, so we could enjoy our summertime Christmas break. Mid-February, I returned to tidy up and reset my studio for the new year. I felt invigorated by a relaxing summer and was ready to get started with fresh eyes. First up, RPXL. I finished it by adding a bit more dimensionality to the outer circle and the square around it. Days later, after enjoying another one of the local bushwalks we had begun that summer, I decided to hang all my large works in our newly remodeled hallway walls. It really helped to be able to live and breathe around them in a non-studio setting. The next day, I realized that RPXL looked better upside down. Then I added a stronger chroma or brighter red to Rahab's thread on mountain number 2. And boom, I had created 3 works. Now it was time to squarely face the RD collection once again. First, I added more thin red stripes to the figures in RD1. Next day, I outlined the far right figure in a dull orange, followed by adding a rich red line a week later. Then I pushed color and values on RD2 as well. I was confident that by continually pushing color, contrast, and value, I'd eventually have a work I liked. However, I remained truly puzzled about how I'd carry off RD1. Mid-March, I finally mustered the courage to make one of my go bold or go home marks. Unsure if I had ruined the work or not, I returned to face my daring move after enjoying a relaxing and head-clearing bushwalk over the weekend. The next day, I wove dark, earthy purple into the previous design. Then frames surrounding small windows showcased tiny vignettes. I liked giving a nod to the earlier layers that had helped build the work. This helped the work a lot, yet it remained unfinished. In the next session, I added outlines to the central shapes, which helped considerably. Then, after another head-clearing weekend bushwalk, I returned with the courage to add the other 2 bright red lines that I had considered at the time I laid the first one. Thereby, RD1, now named Quickening, was complete. Likewise, RD2, now named Abounding, eventually succumbed to my scheme to intensify colors, value, and contrast. It gave me a work I really like. This gave me the confidence to say that yes, indeed, Quickening and Abounding were both complete. Quickening and Abounding, as part of the Abundance collection, were perched on top of my dining room lockers for a few days to settle into a real living environment. This gave me complete confidence to say, yes, indeed, both were complete. You may wonder, what surprised me about working on so many works at the same time? Originally, I had planned on working on each of the series within my pursuit one at a time. Indeed, that's how I started out. Furthermore, that's also how I've always worked with even my realistic works. Nonetheless, working on so many different series and works concurrently offered me a completely different way to play. Additionally, it also helped me fast-track the development of a new style. And in the end, this was exactly what I was searching for. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and be sure to click on the bell so you'll know the next time I upload a new video. And I welcome your comments below. Thank you for joining me, and now I'd be really pleased if you watched this next.